Emirates is changing. For the first time in over a decade, it's embracing smaller jets. Within the next year, it'll welcome an all-new flagship. And around the turn of the decade, it'll move to a brand new hub. Now that's a lot of change for an airline that's been a poster child of consistency. But despite all that's new, there's still one thing of old that Emirates just can't shake: the A380. Since at least 2015, Emirates President Tim Clark has been beating the drum about an A380NEO, urging Airbus to build it. And just a few months ago, he renewed those calls again, even though Airbus has repeatedly shot him down. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, this feels like a weird hill to die on. The A380 is not an easy plane to make money with, and the A380NEO probably wouldn't be that different. Considering all the change that it has in the works, now seems like the perfect moment for Emirates to leave this albatross behind. But they just won't. So what gives? Why does Emirates even want an A380NEO anyways? Well, the answer probably isn't what you think. Let me explain. Now, the A380 is impossible to miss. It's big, unique, and when it shows up at an airport, everyone notices. Unfortunately, the same's true for your personal data. It's out there and easy to spot. A big reason for that is data brokers, shady companies that scoop up details like your name, address, phone number, and more. They'll then package it up and sell it to anyone willing to pay. The result is that you get more spam, more targeted scams, and a higher risk of things like stalking or identity theft. That's why I use Delete Me, today's sponsor. Their privacy experts constantly scan these broker sites to get your data removed. They'll then send you a privacy report that shows exactly where your info was found, what type it was, and how it's been deleted. It's hands-free, simple, and it gives me real peace of mind. If you value your privacy and want to protect your data, head to joindeleteme.com/KobeExplains. And when you use the code KobeExplains at checkout, you'll get 20% off your plan and you'll be supporting my work. Thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to it. First, let's talk about Emirates' long-running love affair with the A380. Over the years, the airline's ordered 123 of them, which is almost half of all A380s ever built. Today, 116 of those are still flying, which is 10 times as many as any other carrier. Now, for most airlines, flying this many super jumbos would be a financial kiss of death. The A380 is infamous for being expensive in pretty much every way imaginable, but Emirates has made it work. First off, they bought them in bulk, often ordering dozens at a time. This helped them secure hefty discounts and spared them from paying its eye-watering list price. And once enough jets were in the fleet, economies of scale kicked in. With so many in rotation, the airline could pool parts, run dedicated maintenance centers, and train crews in big cohorts. The upshot is that they've been able to operate the A380 for cheap, well, at least compared to everyone else. But while Emirates has found success with the plane, I think many would argue that it's time to move on. Its oldest A380s are nearing 20 years in age. Meanwhile, the next generation of jumbos is about to arrive. I'm talking, of course, about the Boeing 777X, a plane that's tailor-made for Emirates. And I mean that literally. Boeing worked hand in hand with the airline during its design process. Now, the result of their partnership is clear as day. The plane has oversized engines and wings so that it can perform in Dubai's extreme heat. That kind of tailored performance is something that the A380 simply can't match. Oh, and the 777X isn't just built tough, it's also built green. Advanced composites help keep its weight down, and with just 2 engines compared to the A380's 4, it burns about 25% less fuel. Even if Airbus built an A380NEO, this new Boeing would probably still be way more efficient. Now, to be fair, the 777-9, which is a plane that Emirates has already ordered and is the largest member of the 777X family, isn't an exact one-to-one replacement for the A380. It seats around 425 passengers, which puts it firmly down market. But Boeing has said that it could stretch the airframe to better match the A380's capacity. And while Tim Clark has shown interest in this 777-10, he's never publicly pined for it like he has the A380NEO. Clearly, we're missing something here. This isn't just a matter of capacity. There's gotta be some intangible, something special about the A380 that no other plane can replace. So what exactly is this hidden superpower? Well, the A380 is a marketing machine. Hey folks, from the flight deck here. We've reached our cruising altitude on this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that fasten seatbelt sign. You're free to move about the cabin, but I recommend keeping those like and subscribe buttons engaged while you're in your seat. Enjoy the ride and let us know if there's anything we can do for you down in the comments. We've already talked about how tough it is for airlines to stand out. This is an industry built on razor-thin margins, and many don't have the resources to effectively grow their brand. The result is that most carriers end up looking and feeling the same. But with the A380, airlines get a 2-for-1. It's both a plane and a flying billboard. It's so big and so imposing that it's frankly impossible to miss. And as the world's only true double-decker, it wows pretty much everyone who sees it. Just go to your local airport and see for yourself. If your city's lucky enough to have A380 service, you'll see the crowds swell when it's set to depart. For Emirates, this is a really big deal. Remember, they're the only airline that fully embraced the plane, which means they're the only ones who can take full advantage of this exposure. And as a result, Emirates now owns the most valuable airline brand outside the US. Candidly, Emirates has needed this exposure. Its home nation of the UAE is small, both in terms of landmass and population, and the vast majority of Emirates customers are not Emirati. For the airline to succeed, it's needed to grow awareness beyond its borders, and the A380s help them do exactly that. Now, this kind of public recognition is awesome, and it's definitely helped Emirates attract new customers. But the best marketing tools don't just reel people in, they get them to come back. And that is where the A380 is truly unmatched. Inside the jet, Emirates has a huge blank canvas. Its sheer size and unique layout gives Emirates the chance to add features that no other plane, not even the 777X, can offer. Of course, the big headliners here are the shower suites in first and the bar in business. But I don't really want to linger on those features for a couple of reasons. First of all, they've been talked about ad nauseum. And second, only a tiny fraction of passengers will ever get to try them. So instead, let's shine a spotlight somewhere else. Let's highlight a cabin that still benefits from the A380's quirks while also being far more accessible. Premium economy. Emirates is the first Gulf carrier to adopt this cabin class, and it's being rolled out across the entire fleet. And having flown it myself, I can tell you it's a genuine treat. The seats are the most obvious upgrade, and are inspired by Mercedes-Benz S-Class vehicles. With them, you'll get 40 inches of pitch and 19.5 inches of width, both of which are industry-leading marks. But it doesn't stop there. Premium passengers also get amenity kits, an upgraded menu, and their own dedicated crew. In short, Emirates Premium Economy leans more premium than it does economy. Now, you'll find this experience across all of Emirates aircraft, but the premium product on board the A380 does have its own distinct flair. Let's start by looking at where the cabin is located. On most aircraft, premium is squeezed between the bulkheads that separate business and economy, which can make it feel a bit claustrophobic. But on the A380, things are different. Since business class lives upstairs, the entire nose of the plane, which is often seen as a very exclusive place to sit, is reserved for premium passengers. Now, sitting in the front definitely gives this cabin an exclusive vibe. But it's not just about perception. There are real tangible benefits too. For one, being ahead of the engines makes the space a lot quieter. In addition, premium passengers get exclusive access to the forward lavs and a self-service minibar, amenities that, on other aircraft, are shared with coach. And then there's the space. The A380's main deck is about 8.5 feet tall. That's 18% taller than the 777, and this extra headroom makes the cabin feel incredibly airy. Okay, this is great and all, but let's pause for a second and refocus. Why does all of this actually matter? Well, at risk of sounding like a broken record here, let me remind you of something important. Emirates is the only airline to deploy the A380 en masse. So that means it's the only airline that can offer this unique experience. No matter how hard others try, or how much money they throw at the problem, there's just no way to replicate this cabin environment. And this is having a measurable impact on Emirates' bottom line. Tim Clark has come out and said that his passengers are recognizing the value of this premium cabin, they are actively choosing to upgrade, and because of that, the cabin's almost always full. And because premium economy seats are way more profitable than coach, it played a leading role in Emirates' record $6 billion profit last year. Without the A380, who knows if this cabin would have the same impact? Hopefully now you're starting to see why Emirates is so keen on an A380NEO. Sure, the 777X will be efficient, quiet, and sleek. It'll have big windows and fancy lighting, and a stretched version could almost match the A380's capacity. But at the end of the day, it still feels like a plane. It lacks the wow factor, the it factor that the A380 delivers, and that's not something that Emirates is keen to give up. The question, of course, is then, will Airbus oblige? Will they actually build an A380NEO? Well, like I covered in this video, it's unlikely. Airbus has already ceased A380 production, and restarting it wouldn't be easy. So with the NEO in doubt, Emirates is doubling down on its existing A380 fleet. It plans to refurbish 110 of them, with each featuring that new premium cabin. This effort will be really expensive. Refitting just one of these giants can cost $50 million, so the entire program will likely cost north of $5 billion. But while this price tag might be huge, the exposure, the prestige, and most importantly the money that the plane generates is well worth the cost. At the end of the day, it's hard to think of another airline, an airplane that are so tightly bound. Maybe the closest comparisons are British Airways with the Concorde or Pan Am with the 747. But I don't think there's ever been a relationship quite like Emirates and the superjumbo. When people think of the A380, they picture Emirates. And when they think of Emirates, they picture the A380. The two are inextricably linked, and Emirates wants to keep it that way for as long as they can. So what do you guys think? Have you ever flown on an Emirates A380? And if so, what was it like? Again, I just recently flew on my first Emirates A380 and it was an absolute dream. I'd love to hear how your experiences were down in the comments section below. Oh, and if you want to learn more about that radical transformation that Emirates is undergoing, the one I alluded to at the beginning of the video, then be sure to check out this project right here. Thank you so much to my patrons for helping to make this video possible. If you like what I do and want to help the channel grow, go ahead and check out this link right here. And as always, if you learned something new today, leave a like and subscribe to keep learning. And until I see you again, don't forget to look up.